This is my work. I'm not going to lie, when I was thinking about artist talk on the way down here, in my head I was just thinking conversation in the gallery, so I actually don't know or have anything planned to say. I guess if I'm going to say anything, it's all kind of one work, even though there's a bunch of different pieces, but it was all made as one, developed as one body of work. It's called Getting On-Off.Expressway, which is kind of a goofy title, but it was like a file name that I had in a folder that I was just collecting all these things in and sort of writing scripts and developing this story. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what to say about it. There's a script. It kind of acts as like a foundation document for the work. I tell these goofy little tales of these characters, and I ask people to read. And there was a performance with like live sound and film projection of Super 8. That's sort of captured, and then it was hastily edited and sort of reinstalled back in the gallery as a kind of remnant or relic of maybe what kind of took place, along with some of the kind of like production objects, which I see as sculptural, like the lights and cables and some of the sound stuff that's left over. Yeah, I mean, these screen prints on vinyl were kind of developed alongside the script, and I was thinking about the automobile in, I guess, America, but England too. Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Could you say a little bit about the automobile in England? Because I think you have a different relationship to it.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's certainly crossovers and similarities, and major historical events or tragedies that are kind of mirrored in both that I was thinking about. But I think especially in America, given the size of the continent and its sprawling nature, and even a city like Columbus, which seems so spread out for me, and lack of decent public transportation or train network, it just, you know, the old saying of the automobile being kind of king is like true here. But yeah, I think I was drawing on everything from like car manuals and making these animations to things like NASCAR, or the Zapruder film, which is the 8mm film of JFK's assassination, to things like Princess Diana's car crash. Yeah, and then sort of develop these archetypal characters who play out this somewhat perverse narrative, obsessing over the car as this fetish object in the script, which, again, I left some lying around so you could kind of flick through if you want and delve a little deeper. Yeah. Is there, like, I don't know what else to say, really.
Can you talk about the poem and how that, like well, I don't, or not the poem, but I thought it was quite about the script, and there's points where it has, like, it almost feels like, the language feels like an engine or something, like there's a lot of repetition.
There's repetition. I was thinking about loops, and that's thinking about the loop as in like the film running through the projector and on the spool, but also in kind of doing the same thing over and over, the loop of like the commute, or the loop. I mean, the breakdown, right? The text on this vinyl is essentially like the 7 parts of the script, and the last one's like actually David Bowie's song title. But I've always liked that term, right? Like just doing the same shit over, making the same like mistakes over and over again, right? So thinking about the loop in that way, and then creating like loops in the dialogue, right? So we'd have these breaks or passages where it was more long-winded, and then we get this kind of repetitive action that would play out. Yeah, I don't know if that answers the question or not. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm wondering how the wall pieces function. I know this is sort of like a backdrop, maybe like you might see in a set. Do those play the same role, or are they?
I mean, these are almost like, yeah, kind of like just texture, almost like just something that might be glimpsed outside of the car. I mean, this one I do think is an outlier, for better or worse. Like, I was thinking of it as if a camera was here and someone was in the car, that's like a backdrop, right? And in the script, it's mentioned like Pacific Coast Highway, and again, almost like what Carl was talking about, like these ideas of escape or luxury or something. Yeah, so it does feel different. It operates in a different way. I don't know if it's entirely successful. But I also just really like the quality, like the low quality of the laser print image. It's something I've been playing with off and on in my work, and just want to kind of go big with it, really, from a cell phone image.
So, just talking about like the camera, so your idea of like things being surveyed, like surveillance, and the whole idea of the project is interesting to me because of the way we view cars and the way they're being projected to us on TV, and the idea of us creating the same car to get into to do this loop. Were you really thinking about what role surveillance was in the project?
Not so much surveillance, really. I mean, I don't know. It's not something I ever think about in my work, surveillance. I mean, it's everywhere, and I think we can't help. If you making contemporary work, you can't help but think about it at times, but at the same time, I try not to think about it too much, or I try to focus on something else. I mean, the cameraman, or what might be the cameraman in the work, or the performance, like, does have a leering quality or a voyeuristic quality to them. Like, I'll ask them to do that and get in people's faces, or use angles that might not be the most flattering or maybe invasive. And sometimes they're dressed as a character alongside the people in this case, the car, but in this case, they were just kind of left more as a roaming cameraman rather than a character. Yeah, sorry, that's not a very good answer to that question.
There's a way in which it feels like the screen, because there's only one set of headphones and there's 4 seats, and obviously we're all right around here without access to the sound. It feels related to silent cinema for some reason. I mean, maybe it's the kind of, maybe it's something about the performers too, and the kind of quality of those gestures, the sort of excess of the costuming or whatever that sort of signifies without needing to hear it. It's definitely partially the black and white and that Super 8 that you've used. But yeah, I mean, do you, like, there is a set of headphones, so it's not entirely dependent on silent cinema. But again, there are 4 seats, and I know that's partially like the car. Mm-hmm. But do you imagine like people sitting in those seats and watching silently the video?
I mean, if you get that many people in at one time, I don't know. You'd have to ask Kaylee. But like my intention, I guess, was like someone might wander in, maybe they like take a seat, maybe they sit in the back and like flick through that for a minute or 30 seconds. Or maybe they sit up front and just put the headphones on. I mean, the performance was like 25 minutes or something like that. This is a 22-minute looping edit. I don't expect anyone to sit for that long, but maybe they just plunk themselves down, maybe they look at this, maybe they listen, maybe they stare out onto the road. This continuation, right, of the vehicle essentially, or the space. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it would do to put 4 sets of headphones in or anything. I mean, maybe they would just get in the way, like dangling there or sitting there. I mean, do we get many groups of 4 come in who all sit down simultaneously? And I don't know, like.
No, surprisingly, no one did that. But there were people definitely spent time like watching it. Like a lot of people would watch it to fruition.
Okay.
I think the singular headphone almost acts as like a steering wheel in the car. Like the driver is getting the majority of the experience in a way.
And I know.
So it's a British car.
It's. Is it? Yeah? I don't know. I'm so confused about that stuff now. I mean, there were some people who came in a group and we saw them reenact it, right?
Yeah.
Which was really bizarre to see them actually go through the entire script, and they were trying to hit the lights and stuff, and I was like, oh, actually don't, because Bill will get mad and I'll blow his bulbs. But yeah, I wasn't expecting that. That was something quite strange, but kind of cool as well.
if it was intentional, but there is something about the singular headphone that seems in keeping with the way so much of your work is about like a representation of pre-existing information. I didn't see the performance. Here we have the performance, but it's been edited. We have the script. We can sort of reconstruct it, but not. The use of silkscreen, the use of Xeroxing, all of these sort of echoes of things, and even, I think it's really nice, this sort of echo to the outside, to the road, to the street. I don't know, I'm not really going anywhere with that, except it's also nice a pairing of artists and this idea of a feedback loop being really present in both.
I had a thought there that's drifted from my mind. I apologize, but I was going to say something. Yeah, I mean, I see everything I do as collage to some extent, right? Whether it's in sound or film or anything, like, I like just taking a bunch of different things and mashing it together and editing it and taking bits out and putting more things in. And that's, yeah, how everything's kind of constructed, basically. I mean, I guess I'll also mention, like, it's probably obvious, but J.G. Ballard is obviously a big influence on me, and a lot of my work is particularly this, right? Like rereading Crash and Atrocity Exhibition and that kind of thing played a major role. And I mean, maybe it's just like maybe it's like a little derivative version of like a slice of that, and then it's gone off on its own little tangent, and then kind of collaged together. I don't know. I don't know if that's a good reference point for people to kind of hook on or anything, but I was certainly going through my mind a lot. Yeah, and as for like the screen, like I still don't know if I've entirely resolved like how do I make a work like this that I think exists fully live in that moment for a half hour or something. Like you can never recapture that energy or that power of it, you know. And I've played around with cell phones and trying to find different ways of installing a remnant of that, you know. But I am like, yeah, I've kind of resigned myself to the fact that you can't reproduce it. Right? It's just a version of it or a ghost.
How do you feel about this as the relic or the version? Like, do you feel like this is successful?
I mean, it does. I mean, some of it's rough, but I'm happy enough with it, you know. I mean, ultimately, you'll get a very, very shortened version, like almost like a trailer cut, which will just sit on my website, you know, as like a teaser or something, or an even shorter version of something that happened, another remnant. The Super 8 is ultimately going to be pulled out and cut into like just a film, like an animation, because about 3.5 minutes of it were like stop motion, and that's something that will just sit again as like a standalone film that could just be screened.
I think it's a pretty interesting way to deal with the fact that most people won't be able to see a performance. And that it makes me think about the fact that most performances that I even know about, I know only through like photo documentation, people describing it to me, or now sometimes like YouTube, and how much that's also part of the way like rock and roll history has been like captured, you know, through YouTube videos now, or you know, things are sort of popping up on YouTube videos. And so just again, like in this theme of like the feedback loop, like immediately incorporating that attitude into the exhibition seems to have a lot of potential.
Yeah, I mean, this took a few days, I think, to get in, or maybe longer. I tried to just cut it as quick as possible and just stick it in, you know, because in those kind of days that linger in between, like it almost feels like, not dead, but it just feels like it's missing a major part, right? Like a limb or something that the work needs to have inserted back in.
I'll say that having this was a lot more successful than me explaining the performance to people. It was much better.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely sure how to explain it to people. I mean, that's why the scripts are here, really. That's like, I keep coming back to the script. It's like a foundation document. Like it holds everything that the show is kind of in there. And this is like a shortened version, which was easier for the performers to read. Like the full version then includes like camera direction and descriptions of like the objects and the backdrop itself while I was making them. I was kind of like trying to visualize the space and how people would move in the space, both in terms of audience with this breakthrough that cuts through the door, as well as performer and where they would move and where they would stop. And these blocking markers, right, these black X's are where they would start and ultimately end. So the performance itself doesn't loop, but it was structured in a way that it could be a loop, right? So maybe if you were there at the start and there at the end, you're like, huh, it ends the same way that it begins, and could in theory be this repetitive half-hour thing that just could keep going, or it could end, have a break, and then come back and go again, in which it kind of works here now as a looped video.
Why didn't you include the masks in the exhibit?
Why didn't I? I think they might have felt too much like a relic or something. I don't know. I'm not sure how well they hold up as objects, and whether or not, for them to be successful, they have to be activated. And at the same time, I don't want people to come in and just play dress up, right? Like, let's just stick on this gross mask and breathe into it a bunch and hand off the next. You know, like, it's designed for the character, and it's designed to be there when the lines are read. Yeah. I mean, that was my thinking. Some people also took them as like the performers wanted a thing to keep, and I was like, sure, take it, you know. Yeah.
How did you settle on this like abbreviated structure to the car? Like the abbreviated structure of the car? Like what was?
The kind of the chop.
Yeah.
Probably to allow people to move through the space. The car itself, like, because I was trying to think of what car dimensions were or what a basic car would be, and I just drew a box out, right? And then I Googled, like, I think it was a 1999 BMW 5 Series or 3 Series, and I took those basic dimensions and then shrank it to the space, right? The floor plan. And then thinking about access, but also thinking about what it means maybe. I mean, it involves a car crash, and obviously there is no special effects and there is no crash that takes place, but what it maybe means to have a body in between this metal structure, right? Like, they aren't being mangled or anything, but it's also a position that isn't in the seat and isn't outside of the car. You're kind of caught in between. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's...
I interpreted the separation as like allowing the car to crash into itself, which is the...
what it says, yeah.
What it says.
I mean, that too.
Too simplistic.
I had a whole story as to why I wrote that it crashes into itself, but I don't know if any of that's relevant to anything. But yeah, I like that read.
Is it relevant to the stock footage, or is that found footage?
It's all shot by me.
Oh, you shot it.
It's all, yeah. So this gap here was where the projection took place, simultaneous to the reading, right?
The black and white material.
Yeah.
That's from the resume.
Yeah, there was a Super 8 projector there that projected onto that wall, and I then did a rough digitization of it and put it on top. Partly because that's a lot easier than to try and have a Super 8 projector, like trying to make a loop of it or have it work in the gallery when it's 30, 40-year-old, you know. I don't know how they work together entirely yet, the materials of the film and the video, but I just love shooting with that camera, especially for the stop motion stuff and the burst shooting. Like, I find it far more ergonomic and kind of pleasurable to shoot with than video.
You're doing everything in camera?
Almost everything, yeah. There's some very janky little tape edits in there, which I was trying to make in the gallery like an hour before opening. And then there's the text that I inserted just to hopefully tie it back to this, right? So maybe there's these checkpoints or markers that work between the script, the vinyl, and then the video, so you know where you are in that particular place. Thanks.